Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Thursday, April 17th, ahead of Good Friday tomorrow. The market is closed tomorrow, and I do hope you all have a fabulous weekend with your friends and family coming up this Sunday for Easter. But let's jump into some GameStop action. I know we saw that Jerome Powell effect yesterday take fold against the market, but let's take a look at some of that flow. We'll take a look at some of those posts from yesterday. One of the things I noticed yesterday was some of the $26 puts that had come in the morning on GameStop. Let me pull up that post here so we can get the accurate information. Let's see here. Yeah, this was yesterday morning. I shared this shortly after my video went live, about 9:15 in the morning. I was seeing some of the $26 puts come in. Let's see here. Hey, take that off my screen there. Let's see what time. 9:18. Yeah, it was the $26 puts for next week. It was about let's see, 185,000 came through there, and it was just something to watch. And I noticed an additional trader might have added some more contracts here because they had purchased some on the 14th as well. So we saw that volume on the 14th, and then kind of carried over into new open interest. So it was something I kind of noted there because that was at 9:18 in the morning. And we'll get to that. We're going to pop over to the chart here for a second. We're going to take a look at. Oops. We're going to take a look at that time actually right after those started getting filled there yesterday. So before we had Jerome Powell. So those came in yesterday morning. I posted around 9:30. I believe the actual time. Yeah, it was date stamped right before 9 Chicago time. So they bought, let's see, bought down here. All right, we'll take a look at that. So they did go in the money towards the end of the session before GameStop kind of rallied back up into 26.24. So we'll look at that also. We're going to pull up all that flow here in just a second. Let me get this daily chart back on here so we can absorb our levels that we're going to watch for. And what's interesting too is our 9-day and our 21 EMA, which is something I'll often use on short dated ideas on my daily chart, and then your classic 50-day and 200-day simple moving average. Note they're all kind of grouping together now, so I like to see that kind of strong in that regard for the price, because yesterday's low 25.72, high 26.66. Volume yesterday a little bit lighter. It's still in line with the day before. So, but we look at that flow yesterday. This is the second day now in a row of negative net premium. So yesterday, about negative 4 million in net premium yesterday. And it's been kind of driven by the sell off of calls and the increasing of puts. We've seen it the last couple of days. You can see the calls selling off, and then they really sold off yesterday. Traders closing positions, traders adjusting positions. So we'll take a look at the net call premium yesterday was light. It was negative 3 mil. And put premium was a little elevated yesterday. So we take a look at what was actually traded, the highest volume contracts. 27s for this week. The 2550 puts for this week saw more volume than open interest yesterday as well. So we'll pull that up here. And those got picked up right there towards the end of the close here. A little bit of activity. 2550. So I don't know if people thought the GameStop would continue declining, and then it kind of shot up into the close. And the IV kind of, let's see, did it shoot up at all? That didn't really change in that regard. So there was some volume yesterday, but that open interest decreased. So more than likely, I would assume a trader closed the position. Could have sold them all here, bought them back. It's really hard to say, but the OI did decrease on those, and about 200,000 total premium yesterday. 30 calls saw some activity for next week as well. Looked like a big trader unloading a bunch of those into the close yesterday as GameStop started to move back up. See about 9,200 volume yesterday. Open interest did increase, 42, about 4,200. So there was about 330,000 total premium there yesterday on the 30C. Historically, if we break that down, we kind of see where the 30 calls have been. It's kind of, I was suggesting, I'm not suggesting, but I would think that traders might have bought the dip on that. So, and that's why you see the change in open interest today, even though the bid and the ask volume was kind of equal, so equal buyers, equal sellers, you did see some of that carry over to open interest. So I would assume some buyers maybe bought the dip on those as GameStop retreated just a little bit, as did the market. I mean, a lot of that was driven in the morning with Nvidia and it sold off. We shared those puts; those went deep in the money, and then Jerome Powell came on, and then yeah, there was a little bit of bounce back in the market towards the end of the close. 30s for this week saw activity. The 30s for May also saw some, significant selling as well, pressure. There was more selling than buying on those 30 calls. So even though we saw some volume, a little bit appeared new open interest. There was about 1.1 million premium total between buying and selling on those. So, but a little more, like I said, the bid side a little heavy on the selling. So whether that was, selling covered calls, closing positions, etc., just winding some of that down. Let's see here. 28th for this week also saw activity. This was the other thing I wanted to talk about. That trader, where he picked up on the 31 and 32 and $33 calls, like about what, a week or two ago. Looks like a big trade. That one of those traders took that off the table. So that block that came through yesterday morning, shortly after the open, about 4,600 here on the bid side, more than likely sold those of the volume yesterday, 6,100. You see the open interest decrease. So more than likely that whoever that was loading those blocks, or I don't believe now that was Roaring Kitty because we never saw any activity after it. More or less just somebody trying to create maybe a level of activity. But if you look here, they bought him here at 119 and left at 123. So they made like $4 a contract for their idea. But more than likely, that particular trader where we first noted that 5,000 block, they left. So regardless of any data you see online, whoever was the 31 that bought that block, they left yesterday. So the data supports that here on Unusual Wells, the fill, as well as the decrease in open interest this morning. So something, it doesn't matter. That's just one particular thing. Does it trade the thesis of the trade? I don't think it does for a lot of people. So we just try to find the flow, during the day. And then the 32s also yesterday. Same scenario. Trader or traders took some of that money off the table with the 32 calls. Premium yesterday about 492,000 because the open interest decreased. So if we again zoom that out a few days, this I assume was the same trader buying here at 115 and then buying again at 128. Might have sold some here to kind of take a few dollars profit, and then the remaining ones not at profit, probably break even. So trade didn't really work out for them in that regard, unless they sold some of them up into the move, which without having access to their portfolio, I can't see that. So 25 puts for this week, I think was the same scenario. Saw some activity right into the close. So about 1,000 or so, 11,000 in premium. Oh, I didn't really change from that. So let's see here. Did anybody sell a bunch? There have been some buying, some buying. Let's look over the last 7 days. I try to look at like the last 7 days, see the bid volume, see the asks. Do we see a bunch of selling, then buying, more buying? So it could have been hedges. You never really know in that regard. But somebody definitely spent 11 grand on $25 short dated puts yesterday, shortly into the close. So OI did decrease. That might have just been somebody winding down a position they already had, and the contracts changed hands. So that's why the minimal decrease to the open interest. So yesterday, like I said, it's the third day in the row now of negative net premium. So I don't know what today holds. We'll take a look when the market opens. Let's see here as I'm recording this. We're a little bit ahead of the market open. GameStop's up a couple of points or a couple of pennies. SPY's up about half a point. Apple up about a point and a half. Let's see what Nvidia is doing this morning. Down about 0.28. Bitcoin 84ish. So yeah, we'll just have to see it. Today's the market's closed tomorrow, so short week in that regard. So be very careful, for those zero DTE traders. Volatility back down to 79%. Premium real light though. The last few days, premium has been very light, and then negative net premium. Traders winding down, closing positions. The stock's kind of consolidating. In a range on the price. So there's a lot of factors there. Does it change anything? I don't think so. But go ahead and take a look here over to your top left corner. Those are some of your moving averages to watch for. Your 9-day, your 21, your 50, and your 200. Always take note of that. Yesterday's low, 25.72. Shortly just above the 9 EMA of 25.48, which is right here. So always something to watch for. I like to see if a stock's above its EMAs. I try to see. In my opinion, prices always has memory. It has a find a way. It finds a way of going back to where it's been. And it kind of maybe relies on those longer time frame moving averages. Whether that's just self fulfilling prophecy from everybody that trades stocks, I'm not sure. I've read that before though many times. But let's take a look at like where that money was spent yesterday on the flow for GameStop, so we can take a look at it for you here, and we'll get that sorted out. We'll try to look for things I could talk about over 500,000 premium. It was very light in that regard yesterday, and then we can see 900,000. Some more of those $10 calls for January and the $31 calls for May. You can see those wound down. The 35s for January, I think they took some of those off the table too. They did. I thought so. So I saw that yesterday, another 500,000 in premium. Yes, there was volume, but the OI decreased, which is probably roughly amount. I assume without looking, OI decreased 716. This candle volume 911, so pretty much covers the bid volume 781. Pretty much covers that. So more than likely that position was also sold. And we had noted those $35 calls coming in for January. So here, it could be traders selling more of them because they don't feel like GameStop will close. Could be hedging. I could have bought them here and sold them back to break even. A lot of different scenarios. And then the tens, you've been seeing that. I think a lot of this is related to just arbitrage, selling deep in the money calls, just as a way to close a position or a short seller arbitrage strategy. So I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to that, even though there was some premium. Some of it's at the mid, so it just kind of suggests potentially arbitrage traded at the floor, whether it be the arbitrage desk related to these convertible notes, I'm not sure. But there's where your premium was at. Here are your strikes. Here's your expiry, so you can take a look. Here's your volume. So, I mean, I kind of broke it down already what we saw today. Let's see, these $30 calls for October. Also, I saw a few people posting those. Those appear to be mainly sold in that regard. Now, I did increase yesterday, but it was leaning pretty heavy bid. So I don't know if whoever bought the day before sold them at a loss or has been buying and selling them. To be honest with you, GameStop contracts, a lot of day traders on this stock. A lot of current shareholders that leverage their position using covered call strategies, selling puts, buying puts, etc. You should. That's your money and that's your right. That's your opportunity. I mean, most institutions, hedge funds, etc. They hedge every purchase, whether it be a sell, a buy. They're going to hedge using the option chains. So you can see some of that activity. I mean, if you were buying some of these $30 calls for October back here at 300 and cashed them out at 500, I wouldn't blame you. That's a nice trade for just a month, So yeah, pause or take a screenshot so that we can see where the flow is at in that regard. And then for open interest, I don't think there was a lot of big changes today for GameStop. There wasn't a lot of increases here. Let me pull this up real quick. Here were our largest increases to open interest. It was the 30 calls for this week, 23s for May. We'll look at those 30s for May. But see this red, more selling, more suggested bid, which suggests selling. Green, more suggestive ask, more suggestive buying. And you saw those 26 puts we talked about yesterday. I posted on my X. That particular trader definitely added to those. Let me pull up the 3-day here. Because that was the first day they added about 1,500 contracts and came through blasting another about 1,800 contracts. And if you look today, of that 3,000 volume yesterday and the 300 grand premium, 1,800 carried over new open interest. More than likely, this trader, because volume does exceed open interest, more than likely these were bought to open. So traders looking at 26 puts for next week. So they may feel stock will close below 26. Hey, they may think they want to sell their shares at 26. It's hard to say. So it could be a hedge. Either way, that trader's been active with those 26 puts, and they were filling yesterday when they bought them at 100, and there was some fills about 127, so went up about 25%. So for a day trader who took that trade, if they sold some, they made some money. 21 puts for June. Looked like those were purchased as well yesterday. Yeah, about 1,000 volume, which exceeded open interest and more than likely bought to open as well. 150,000 premium and the volume carried into new open interest. So this transaction 1,000 carried over. So yeah, someone gunning $21 puts June 20th, but it is, as you note here, multi-leg. So a lot of people may post this right here and go, "Oh look, someone just bought 150,000 worth of $21 puts for June. They're bearish." Maybe not. It's a multi-leg. Ooh, multi-leg trade. We've talked about that before, so let's open it up and we'll drill down into it, which we can do on the Whales platform very easily. So we can see here the 1,000, definitely on the floor trade, multi-leg, and that's denoted by these up and down arrows. So we'll pull that up here. So what they actually did here's, let's see, bought 24 puts for April 17th and the 21 puts. So that's a long diagonal spread. That's actually a bullish put in that regard. So simultaneous, yeah, and that's denoted by the size of 1,000 contracts each and the time, 9:45:12, and it was coded from the exchange there. Uh, Non-electronic multi-leg trade order get executed against another multi-leg order. So this could also been the other side of someone else's trade. So that's sometimes what happens when you have paired or non-paired trades occurring. They can be matched from a previous order. So that's what you see there in that regard, and that's why that triggered a multi-leg in that regard. Like I said, here are your values this morning. Let's take a look at that pre-market number. Are we at 26, 24 or something? 26, 27 at the time, a little bit ahead of the open here. And that was the open interest changes. Let's see how that gamma looks for GameStop here. We looked at that yesterday, kind of not decreased, but kind of slowed down a little bit. And I'm sure it probably adjusted a little bit with some of those May calls coming off the table there. It might have just altered the May gamma just a little bit here. Because we know the strongest is still at the $27 open interest and then building to 28, 29, and then the highest at 30. If we look at that gamma actually here, though, see net gamma slowed down a little bit at the 25. You still got your call gamma over here. Put gamma very strong still too. 26 gamma on put side, a little stronger there. A little about equal with the call gamma. But then net gamma ramps up, at 27, 26 and a half. And then, start to blast in at 28, 29, and 30. And we've talked about this all week and have been. With the bulk of that driven towards today's expiry, building up a little into next week, and then again the May and June, starting to see some starting to pick up a little bit more net gamma in that regard. So you know how it goes with GameStop. It's day by day. The market's been wild with all the tariff news. So obviously, take the market and trade it with, a grain of salt. I mean, short term, are we seeing pain? Yes. Long term for the stock market, it's just like any other snafu. You have to zoom out. You have to understand your investment objectives, your timeline. You zoom out on it and give it some time. Because at the end of the day, even though we've gone through these snafus the last, few weeks, we're still higher than we were. We're still higher than we've been. And the S&P, for example, will always continue, no matter what the drawdown. If you allow enough time to go on, it will continue to track up. It's what it does historically and has done. And there's not much you can do about it. So if you're all the way in the market in 93, you're still up. If you're in the market in '07, you're still up. This is when I graduated high school. 98, if you're in the market there, even survived the dot-com. Yes, we did. Even survived the housing and financial crisis. We did. Even worked up here. We did into 15 and 16 economic issues. And we survived in 18. Same issues. We survived in 20 with COVID. So it's long term. Short term pain, but short term pain does yield long term opportunity. It just depends on your investment objectives, your risk appetite, and how long you're in this game. So the longer you're in, the longer you can sustain, the more you can play it. So, but yeah, just a little video for today. I hope you guys do have a fabulous day. Enjoy your day off tomorrow. I know I will be with friends and family, enjoying the lovely holiday as well. But if you watch the video all the way through, you're awesome. Do appreciate it. Friendly reminder, the Unusual Whales Easter sale ends next Tuesday. Scan the QR code there or use my link. Grab yourself a discount. Do appreciate that. As do the folks at Unusual Whales. And just noticed here, wow, 70,000, near 70,000 followers. Let's take a little screenshot of that while I'm here. But yeah, thanks for being part of this journey there. So, yeah, enjoy your day, and I'm sure I'll see you around the internet real soon. Have a great day, everybody.